What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. So happy Tuesday. I hope you are doing well. And today's show, we're going to be talking about the 7 stages of accepting women as they really are. And I think it's a really important lesson for you as a guy to get, because there's going to be a point in time where if you're a guy that's been struggling with dating, you're going to start to realize, you're going to start to realize that the stuff you've been trying to do in order to get women and why it's not working, it's because that doesn't actually work on them. And also, you're going to run across things like my stuff or other gurus on the internet that are giving advice. And if you're like me, when I first started my journey, your initial response is going to be like, you're all bullcrap. Like, this stuff shouldn't work. Women aren't that way. I have a preconceived notion for how women should be. And so if I'm not getting those kind of women, it just means I need to search harder, versus facing the reality that the way in which you view women are not how they actually are. And so I want to talk about my journey from going from a guy that was very annoyed and angry at women to a guy that was accepting of understanding the true realities of how women actually are in real life and the various stages that you'll go through in the journey to get there. Because when at the point where you start realizing the way that women actually are versus how they are idealized in your head, it really is like going through the 7 stages of depression and grief. Like, you have to really go through a process of coming to eventually accept that the way you thought about women and the way that you were going about trying to get them isn't going to ever be a thing that works for you. But the sooner you're able to get through those phases, the easier it'll be on the other end to be like, okay, I know what reality actually is. How do I work with reality in order to get the women that I want, and also to show up in a realistic way that women are wanting me to show up that will get me net positive results. So we're going to talk about that. I have a slew of other things I want to talk about today, plus some comments that I want to respond to from this past week. So all that stuff's going to be happening. And of course, this show is ultimately about you. So if you have any questions about dating or about the stuff we're talking about today that you want answered during the course of the show, simply leave your question in the chat and I'll be happy to get to it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get on with the Introvert Dating Success Show.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
All right. So before we get into the show, this show, of course, is brought to you by introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can go there to check out my coaching program, the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Program. It is a 12-week program that is designed to help you, walk you, and guide you through the ins and outs of how to date, as well as how to become a more confident version of yourself so you can remove anxiety, you can walk about confidently in the world, you have more sense about you in terms of how women actually function. And as a result of that, you'll be able to get more dates and live the kind of dating life and regular life that you've always wanted to do. So you can check that out at the website. In addition to that, for the month of May, I'm doing special pricing on all my ebooks. So if you guys are on YouTube, you'll see this in the link, but I'm gonna put this on the screen for the rest of you all. So I'm calling this Pay What You Want May. Very simply, if you go to the website during the course of this month, click on the products tab, you'll see my ebooks there. Matter of fact, I can show them real quick here. Where do I do this at? This one right here. Okay. Yeah. So if you go here, you'll see my books right here. So we have No Girls For You, the ebook, my original book that I wrote years ago. We have Texting Like a Boss, as well as 10 Steps to Winning Your Ex Back. You can get any one of these books that you want for the month of May at whatever price you want to pay. Like, you literally go there and you can type in whatever price you're willing to pay for any of those books, and you will get it. There's no like stipulations or anything like that. I'm just trying it out for the month of May. So you can go there, whatever you feel the value you're going to get out of the book is, simply put that price into the checkout page, and that is the price that you will pay for it. All right. So that's my special for May. This will not be lasting forever. So definitely feel free to take advantage of it while this deal is going on. Okay. So, we already got a comment in the chat. We have a comment in the chat that says social conditioning is a real thing. Most guys can't even comprehend doing things differently than they've always done them. It's scary to think about how I used to view intersexual dynamics. Well, we'll get into that more in the show, but a lot of that has to deal with the media and how we're trained to believe that dating should work. I don't want to be one of those conspiracy theorists that says, oh, there's an agenda going on. But I live here in Hollywood. I tend to notice trends that happen in Hollywood. So, for example, in the past few years, there's been a trend, for example, for like all the couples in commercials to be mixed race. Now, I personally, if you are in love with somebody of a different race, that is totally fine. But I've just noticed that commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial has that going on. So I'm like, there are still like Black people that get with Black people and white people that get with white people and Asians that get with Asians, right? Like we can show like more respect than just solely focusing. So it's like there is a level of when Hollywood latches onto an idea, they push it out. So one of the things with like romantic comedies for years is they have a way that they present men, they have a way that they present women, and they're catering to their biggest audience, which is women. They know women want to see and or feel certain things when they're watching movies, even if those things wouldn't actually turn them on in real life. And so they put those out there in the media. The problem is guys also see these. Like I like romantic comedies. So guys will go see these romantic comedies or these various love stories and see guys doing things in these movies that are working that would never work in real life. And we think, because again, we're coming from like a young age where we have no basis of like how dating should work. Like we'll either see our parents together or our aunts and uncles and stuff, but we don't have like the intel on how that actually happened. Because as a kid, you're not trying to ask your parents, hey, how did you two get together? Or dad, what moves did you do or not do in order to get mom? And so as you get into your kid years and your teenage years, you're just consuming all this media. So by the time you as a guy get to age like 14, you already have preconceived ideas in your head that have been programmed into you to make you believe this is how dating should work. And then you get beat to death by all the failures that you get trying to date. And then eventually, ideally, you start to realize like, oh, that's not how that goes. But again, we'll talk more about that later on. But yeah, the media is a big part of that. So that's why part of my job is trying to untrain you guys and say, hey, the stuff you see on TV is fantasy. Most of that's not going to work. Here's what actually works, regardless of what women are going to make you believe based on the media you're consuming. So we'll get into that later on in the show. But for right now, I want to start off with, let's see here. What am I starting off with? So I'm going to start off here with this story that I saw this morning. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. So you guys know Justin Bieber. He's a singer. He's married to, I think, one of the Baldwin's daughters. And so there's an interesting story going on with him that I actually have saved here. So I'm going to pull up my screen to this here. So this is the story. Justin Bieber only at marital home with wife Haley a couple of nights a week amid relationship drama. So he's been going through it for the last few years. He had some disease at some point, and then he went through a depression. But mostly, when he got with Haley, they were all lovey-dovey, and they were all like, all over each other. And so I've been studying this couple the last few years because I noticed things that maybe other people in the media don't look at, that I can tell based on certain actions is going to be the downfall of a relationship, right? So the number of times he would say, oh, Haley's my rock and I lead on her and she's been in there when I've been depressed and I have to cry to her and all sort of stuff. I've been studying because all that language is stuff that I've seen guys do that fast forward a couple of years later ends up being the reason that the woman left the person, right? And so they're not divorced yet. They're not broken up yet, but they're already separated based solely on his actions. So we're going to get into what those actions are because, and I'm pointing this story out because this is the kind of thing that when I see guys in my comments say things like, I was texting her nonstop and I want to talk to her and I was trying to, my world's falling apart without her. This is exactly what Justin's doing. And as you can see, it's resulted in, you're going to see what it results in terms of them like not being in the same house, right? So here's the story. The story goes, Justin Bieber is honoring wife Haley Biebers' request for time apart by getting his own place in Beverly Hills, says sources who note the move is taking a serious toll because why? He falls to pieces without her by his side at all times. Now, this is a couple that's married. I try to teach you guys that in the dating phase, you don't need to be around a woman all the time because it causes them to feel like you're forcing a relationship. It puts a lot of pressure on her and it can turn her off. Well, now this also applies to when you're married. Guys, just because she says yes to a relationship and she agrees to date you and agrees to marry you, this does not change that she needs time away from you and that she does not want to be your end all be all. And this goes back to what Tyrone was saying about how we as guys we're have a different view of intersexual dynamics early on, and part of that's because we watch this media that makes us believe that this is what women want, because we see those movies, right, where it's like, oh, we're by each other every single day, and we dated for 3 weeks and became a couple after 3 dates, and it's been lovely ever since, and we spend every single day together, all the hours, we were on the phone nonstop. And guys start believing this is what love looks like. Love looks like I need to be there all the time. And not only that, she should want to be around me all the time because I'm so great. And as a couple, we're going to fight the world together. And that means having to be by each other's side all the time. So then you get into a relationship and the woman's like, hey, I'm going to go away for some friends with the weekend. Or, hey, I have a business thing out of town. Oh my God, why are you leaving? I should be able to go with you. Why don't you want me to come with you? This is very codependent, and it is not healthy. And you as a guy of the two sexes, sorry to say, guys, not sorry, you are going to look like more of a weak person if you're the one that's obsessing about having to spend all your time with her, more so than she will be if she's trying to obsess with spending all her time with you. It's not healthy for women to do that either, but of the two sexes, they can get away with it better. So if you are thinking, hey, I'm going to show her that I love her by telling her I can't live without her like all the R&B songs say, and I'm going to try to keep her around all the time and make sure that I'm always stuck by her side, it's going to cause burnout even in your marriage. Even if you're in a 10, 15, 20-year marriage or relationship or whatever, they're still going to, as much as they love you, need time away from you. Hey, this whole channel is like for introverts. I'm an introvert. I tell every woman that I date, I'm going to need time away from you because as much as I care about you, I need time to reset. I need time to do podcasts. I need time to just think by myself. And if a woman that I'm with is going to take that as an insult, I don't need to be with them because I know what that comes with. That comes with them being codependent. And so that's what Justin's doing right here. I cannot live without her by my side at all times. That is not a fair thing for anybody to do, especially to somebody that they're dating. Like to put the pressure on, I'm only going to be happy if you're around. So you got to make sure that you're the one that's causing me to be happy. So you got to be near me all the time. That is like a jail set. And again, once women start feeling like they're forced to be around you, it's going to make them want to actually split from you a lot faster, like what's happening with Justin. Anyway, so he says, the ad says, insiders exclusively tell In Touch that the 30-year-old Stay singer is reluctantly giving the 27-year-old model some breathing space in an attempt to save their 5-year marriage. Quote, Justin's got another place in Beverly Hills so he could give Haley the space she wanted. He's only there a couple nights a week, if that, but it's still really tough on him. So he now can't stand to spend a whopping 2 days a week away from his wife. Like, again, I get that they're married and that he's trying to care for her and whatnot, but to be like, my whole world is crashing because I can't be around her, that makes you seem obsessive, even to somebody that really cares for you. And see, this is why I point this out, because sometimes guys will say, women just start losing interest for no reason, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you as a guy can actually be doing stuff that you're unaware of that can cause a woman to be like, I care about him, but I can't breathe. And so I need space. And again, as I said on the show before, when women do this, this is a pull away. She's doing that because she wants a reset. She wants to be able to get back to herself, to be able to reset. And also, and this is a subconscious thing, guys, is that women want to feel like they are having a desire to want to reach out to see you. And when you curtail that by being around all the time, you're taking away a vital component that women need to feel in order to want to be around you. They need to have the want and feel of wanting to be around you, which means you got to sometimes not be there. Like the best thing for Justin would be, honestly, to be on tour. So it would give Haley breathing room and she could be like, oh, I miss him. When are you coming back? Oh my God. Like women actually need to go through the exercise. Guys, not necessarily as much, but again, because women are feelings based, part of how they're determining if they like you or not is how they're feeling about you. And so if she's not feeling a missing desire for you ever because you're constantly around, then that's going to cause her to lose interest faster, because when she doesn't have that want, it's not making it her choice to want to come and seek you out if you're always there. Just some psychological stuff for you guys. So anyway, so then the article goes on to say, as previously reported, sources say the couple has been on each other's last nerve after a series of blowups over his exes, starting a family, and his endless adolescent tantrums. Well, for one, I don't think it's about his exes unless he's constantly bringing them up, in which case that's bad. But again, it really is the fact that he's around all the time. And so when that happens, sometimes what would be just little small things here and there, women will blow it out of proportion purposely, subconsciously, to push you away so she can get that space she's been wanting. So don't think, guys, that every single fight you guys get into is a logical fight. women will sometimes create fights because they don't know how to just ask for space, which, to be fair, is partially men's fault, because when we hear that, as in the case of Justin, if she were to say to Justin, hey, I need a little bit of space. Oh my God, we're breaking up. Why could you? So in lieu of that, they'll come up with what we consider to be dumb things, and because they don't care if it's dumb, they just care that it's going to get them their space. So whatever fights they're having about the exes, about starting a family, or about all these other things, it boils down to she's trying to get space, and now there's got to be fights so she can have an excuse to get space. Anyway, the article says, according to the Insider, the Yummy singer is doing everything he can to avoid divorce court, even if it means spending time apart. Quote, he's so dependent on Haley. She's everything to him. Personal cheerleader, assistant, cook, muse. He's lost without her. Guys, this is another one of those things that romantic comedies teach us. You got to tell a girl, oh, if I can't have you, I'll be so lost. I won't know what to do. Please stay around. Again, women don't want that pressure. They just don't, So don't think that that's going to be a thing that wins a woman over. You saying, you're the love of my life. You're the air I breathe. That works for songs, because when a woman's hearing somebody sing that in a song, it's giving them a feeling, and that feeling is fine because that guy in the song isn't actually singing to her, but it can make her fantasize about what that would be like. That doesn't mean that's what she actually wants. There's a difference between the fantasy of what women fantasize about and what actually is going to make them want to stay with you in a relationship. Don't fall for, oh, I'm seeing these fantasy things. Oh, I'm hearing these fantasy songs. And so women must actually want that. They do not. So then the article says he's lost without her, but he's trying to be tough about it because this is something Haley wants. Yes, she wants space and time because he's not giving it to her. I bet you and guarantee you if he was giving her space and time, she would never ask for space and time. And that's why you as a guy have to know that even if, here's my general thing, right? If you've been dating, say you're dating a girl or you're in a relationship for a long time, let's say it's been like 6 or 7 days together. She hasn't said a word about needing space from you or time away from you, right? Women aren't going to always voice those things, and they're not also going to always know that they need those things. It is your job as the guy at times to create reasons for you guys to have space, whether it's, hey, I got to go off on a job somewhere, or I'm gonna go hang out with the buddies for a little bit. I'm gonna go play basketball. I'm gonna go to the mall for a minute just to see, get some food or whatever. Like, you need to be building out parts of your day and or week where you do not see her and you are rarely trying to reach out to contact her. Guys will hear that and think, but then how will she know? And blah, 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 blah. But you're not understanding that giving her that space is going to make her want your company versus when you don't give the space and she's wanting you to go the freak away so she can miss you and want your company. Anyway, so then the article says, sources previously said Haley suffered a serious case of cabin fever while cooped up with Justin over the past several years. Oh my God, especially when C-19 hit and everybody was at home. There were so many more breakups that happened during C-19, and people thought like, oh, it's because they're cooped up together. No, actually, the reason is because people don't realize that when a pandemic is not happening in their day-to-day life, even when they're living with a person, they're not seeing them all the time. Like, one person will go to work and be out of the house, or they'll both go to work and not see each other for hours on end. And then during the weekend, they might have weekend projects and things are going. So when people live together, they don't actually see each other all the time. The problem most couples had is they were stuck under a roof, and one person was afraid to say, hey, I'm going to go on a walk by myself because they knew it hurt the other person's feelings. So they felt, okay, if I go on a walk, I got to take my spouse. If I try to get some food, because I can still go out and get food, I got to take my spouse. If I go to the grocery store, I got to take my spouse. And all that time together, surprise, surprise, broke a lot of couples up because they didn't realize that space was important. And then meanwhile, the person that would possibly ask for space, the other person would get offended by it. And that caused the other person to feel forced that they got to be there. So this is why I'm saying overall, guys, space is important, and space does not mean that she loves you less. But realistically, everybody, before they got into a relationship, were solo. There are times when you as a person and that the person you're dating as a person will need to get back to their solo selves, to reset, to be able to, think about things without interruption, to not have to talk to another person about a decision they're trying to make. Like, let people have that and not think that it's an offense to you or your how good your company is, Let's see. Article says he had to cancel his 2021 tour after catching Lyme disease, and in 2022, she suffered a mini stroke that led to the diagnosis of having a hole in her heart. Quote, they're both in better health now. So there's no reason they can't take a little time for themselves. Haley's grateful for the space and says it's helping clear her head. As the insider, Justin's hating it and hoping this is just a phase and they can go back to the way things were by summer's end. So what's he trying to do? He's already trying to say, okay, I'll give you your space and time, but only for a little bit, and it's going to stop by the end of the summer. And the reality is, at the point that a woman starts pulling away, you don't try to give her a time limit on that. Like, if a woman's pulling away, it means you are doing too much, and you need to give her the time that she needs until she gets to the part where she starts feeling like it's now her decision to come to you, all right? But let this be a cautionary tale, guys, about why it is that you being obsessed with the girl you're dating, or trying to, force her to be around you all the time, or trying to tell her, you're the love of my life, I can't live without you, that those things that you can see from this example do not work. Because a few years ago, Haley was singing all of Justin's praises. He's so great. He's a wonderful spouse. I can't wait to have kids. But he started having that adolescent behavior. He started trying to be like, I need you around all the time. And if you leave me, oh my God, I'm going to hurt myself or whatever. And those are not things that make women feel like it's now their choice to see you. You need to keep it at a pace where a woman's going to always feel like she's choosing to come towards you instead of you doing so much that it's causing her to feel like she's pulling away from you. We don't want them pulling away, but that can't happen if you are not pacing this better and giving them some space, right? So if you need help with that kind of stuff, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and you can click on the coaching tab. And you can also check on the first page to learn more about the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Program, it's a 12-week program that walks you through some of this stuff, like how to get rid of anxiousness, how to not be so jealous, how to cure anxiety, how to know the ins and outs of what attracts women, and how to talk to them in a way that's going to actually want to keep them around and have them clamoring to see you versus wanting to head for the hills like Haley's currently doing with Justin. Because I guarantee you, I give this I'm going to call it now. I'll give it like a year or two. If he doesn't change his behavior, this will be kaput. Like, this will be completely dead in the water, broken up, all because he can't handle himself. At which point, he'll have no choice but to learn how to handle himself, because they won't be together anymore. And unless he wants stalking charges or jail time, he'll have to get it. But he could just learn that now if he just, join my program, or just learn not to be so needy upon a woman's behavior. But that's a lot of guys. A lot of guys, we get into it. Let's face it. I've been there. You get into your feelings. You start thinking this is the one, and then you get fearful of losing her, and you're doing all the things to try to keep her around. And it's like the more you do, the more likely it is they're going to head for the hills, because you have to leave it to their choice to pick you. So hopefully that article helped you guys out. All right. We got a comment in the chat, and the comment goes, what do you think about reaching out to someone who you haven't seen in about 9 months? We weren't serious. She did start, but seems to be single since January. Neither of us have reached out to one another, with the exception of her reacting to my IG stories, which I just left unread. Well, I don't know why you guys haven't talked to each other, so I would need more information on that. I will say the fact that she reacted to your IG story. So on the off chance that you connected with the woman, and then for whatever reason, maybe she decided not to talk to you anymore, or you guys just both kind of stopped doing whatever. My thing is this: if at any time a woman reaches out to you in some form of capacity, it's worth investigating. And for most guys, we're thinking as logical guys, well, if she wants to see me, she'll just reach out and say, hey, what's going on? I'd love to see you sometime. This is not how women function, which we'll get into in the show. All right. It's very important. But you have to understand that for women, they still want to be chosen. And so more often than not, they're going to do passive things that they're going to hope that you catch on to, so that way you'll be the one to reach out to them. So, and this will look like the most mundane of things, because guys are thinking it's going to be like some kind of big signal. It's going to be the most mundane action. Something like, oh, I'm going to like a story. Now, that seems to you like, she just liked my story. That's no big deal. This is how a woman's thinking, right? If I react to anything he has on his page, he's going to see it. And when he sees it, he's going to see that I'm the one that clicked on it. And he's going to wonder, so-and-so clicked on this thing. That's so great. I wonder if she's trying to reach out to me. She must be, because why else would she waste the time and energy to just like my story? You know what? I'm going to reach out to her. So that's what she's thinking is going to happen in her head. So both sexes typically have narratives that they think, if I do this thing or say this thing, the other person's going to just totally get that what I want them to do. And that's not typically how this goes. But that's why you have a channel like mine to explain this. So when a woman reaches out and she does something as simple as likes your story, that is code for, hey, dummy, I want you to reach out, because I want you to know that I exist. If I didn't want you to know I existed, I wouldn't have liked anything on your page at all, or left a comment of any kind. So she left the like. So now it's your move. So what should your move be? I would argue that if she left the thing, you could just hit her up and say, hey, I saw you liked my story, LOL, what's been up? She'll respond back with something, assuming she wants to do a dialogue. Oh, just whatever. I'm up. This is that, blah, blah. You can say, hey, oh, that's fantastic. You know what? I'm busy right now, but I'd love to catch up. Let's meet up for dinner sometime. I'm free on this day or this day. Let me know what works for you. Boom. Now you're going to the process of actually getting her out in public on a date if you're trying to go that route, and then take it from there. All right. But yes, her reaching out is a good sign. Always assume that no matter how passive it looks, if a woman reaches out to you in any kind of way that seems mundane, whether it's just sending a simple hi or sending a simple emoji smiley face or just liking a story, that more often than not, that's a signal that she wants you to reach out. Now, I say more often than not because there always are outliers where a woman could just be like, I'm going to like his story because I want to see if he's still hung up on me. And then once I know that he is, I'm going to ignore him. So that could be happening, but I don't go to that step until I actually reach out and see what the response is. If I reach out and then they don't respond back, I know, okay, they just wanted attention, in which case I block them. But assuming that that's not the case, just reach out, quick little, hey, what's been going on? And then try to get a date. So hopefully that helps you out with your situation. All right. So guys, comment says, yeah, that's my thinking. She has my number. So I figured she could reach out to. We were supposed to meet up. It was going out of town. And I never got a, hey, I'm back in town, want to meet up. Oh, you made that classic mistake. All right. So I'll give you guys a little one-on-one on women, which again, this is all going to tie into the stuff I'm talking about later. So there's going to be times when you're trying to set up a date with a woman. And for whatever reason, she can't make the date. In this case, she's going out of town. Maybe she's got family coming into town. She has to work late, some other thing, right? So the worst thing you could do as a guy is say, okay, well, hit me up when you get back. But even worse than that is you believing her when she says, hey, I can't make the date, but I'll hit you up when I'm back in town. Because here's what I found, right? Even women that have had a very high interest in me and legit wanted to see me would still not reach out. And you know why that is? It's because there's a couple reasons. For one, subconsciously, women are still in the thing of like wanting to be chosen. And yes, even though I talked to you guys about how like women are choosing you and how if they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you, which is all very, very true. But they set it up in a way where they're going to be the receivers of your incoming invite. And so when a woman says something like, hey, I'll let you know when I'm back in town, they don't actually want to do that. Like they're saying the words to you, but subconsciously, that is not an action that they want to do. And just to be fair, guys, to be fair to women, this is also something they do amongst their girlfriends. Like, oh, hey, I'll let you know when I want to go to the party. Like, let's say a woman has a best friend, right? And the best friend's like, hey, I'm having a party on this and day. And the friend doesn't actually want to go. Like there's going to be an ex there that she doesn't want to see, or maybe just the kind of party they're having is not up to her taste. Then the woman would be like, okay, sure. Yeah. I'll let you know I'll let you know for sure if I'm able to go to that thing. The other woman already knows this woman's not going to reach back to her because she wants to say no, but she doesn't want to hurt her feelings. And then women just know this amongst themselves. They know, depending on with the inflection that was being said when it happened or how it was being said, that this woman's not going to show up. Now, that's a lot harder through text. And most guys are trying to get dates and stuff through text. So it makes it very hard to read what's going on, right? And so this is one of those things where even if a woman says to you, hey, I'll let you know when I'm back in town, they're probably not going to do it. And so that's why you as a guy need to be taking the reins at all times of being able to ask women out. So I typically phrase things like, let's say she was going out of town, right? I would say, okay, great. Glad to hear you're going out of town. I will reach out to you later on in the week. So I would probably find it like when she's getting back in town. So let's say I ask a girl out, oh, I can't do it. I'm going out of town till Sunday. Okay, great. You come back in town Sunday. Fantastic. I'll hit you up when you get back. Boom. Now it's in my control of when I'm going to ask for that next date. So when she gets in town, I'm not putting her through the work of having to now ask me out, all right? And this is especially true early on. As you get to know a girl more and more, they'll be more prone to be willing to actually just reach out to ask for the date. But more often than not, you got to do the heavy lifting, and they're going to expect that from you. So don't put that responsibility into her hands ever, because you have probably missed out on other women that would have continued to see you had it not been for you saying, hey, you reach out to me when you get back in town. To them, that is not a very to them, doing that is a very masculine activity. And so if they're a woman that's trying to be in their feminine, they're not trying to reach out when they get back. More likely, they're going to be like, well, he knows I'm back in town. I'm assuming he's going to reach out, comment. It says, she reacted 3 times since we stopped talking. I stopped reaching out to her to what seemed like she was dating, but seemed to be single since January. Well, again, do what I said, like reach out to her and just be like, hey, what's up? What's going on? But like, yeah, she more likely than not, most women are not going to be trying to reach out to you to ask for the date, even if they highly like you. Okay. That's just across the board. More often than not, that's what's going on. So if you didn't reach out to her, that's on you. At best, if I knew she had gotten back and it had been like a week since she got back, I would have been the one to reach out but again, I've been doing this for years. So I just inherently know it's better to figure out when the woman's getting back so I can ask them out than to assume that they're going to ask me out. Because again, that's very masculine leaning and they're not in the habit of wanting to do that, you know? So hopefully that answers your question. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this because I'm really like hype about sharing this stuff with you guys today. So let me just delete this real quick here. Stop screen. Okay, great. All right. So let's talk about the 7 stages of accepting women as they really are. So for those of you that have watched this program for however long I've been doing it now, since 2018, it's been a long time. I've talked about my journey on here quite a bit in terms of going from being a bad dater to being a good dater to being able to have lots of success with women and whatnot. But I really kind of want to walk you through a very important part of my journey, which was the point where I really started learning about how women actually work and what actually attracts them and what that journey looks like. Because I've noticed throughout the years of my pages that I'll put up various videos and I talk about some certain things that a lot of men that come into my channel have not heard before. Things like don't reconfirm dates, things like wait between dates to call women, not to text them so much. I talk about the fact that it takes them 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings, so you shouldn't be trying to rush them into a relationship. I go through a plethora of other various topics that when men come to my page and are coming across this stuff for the first time, I can tell based on their comments that they're at the part of their journey where nothing that I'm saying should be true. Like nothing what I'm saying is complete bullcrap. And how dare I tell them to do this thing? And how dare I, make assumptions about women wanting to be a certain way because as far as they know, women should be this way or women should be acting this way and blah, 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 right? And so I recognize that because when I was 20 years old, turning 21, I was going through a thing where I just tried to hit on, I'd had friends of mine that were women that had shown interest in me, but then suddenly I started, in hindsight, doing or saying things that caused them to lose interest. And I was just fed up because I was like, women are saying they want nice guys. I'm a nice guy. And then they're going for these dudes that are just like trying to bang him and leave him. I had a girl that had a crush on that ended up getting pregnant by another guy. Like there's just all these scenarios that are coming up that are completely opposite of the way that I view dating should be working and the way that I've been told dating should be working and the way that I've been told that women are going to actually function as it pertains to they all want relationships. They don't want to just be about sex. They want to be with somebody that's going to like be nice to them and kind, and they want flowers and candy. Also, I wrote about all this in my first book, No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, which by the way, guys, this month I have it's called Pay What You Want May. So you can go to that link right there and you can get any of those 3 ebooks at whatever price you want to pay. So it could be $1, it could be $20, $30, whatever you want for this month, for the month of May. You can go there and get that book. So one of those books is No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. It's a book that I wrote that goes through all the ins and outs of why the things you think should be attracting women actually causes you to lose them. So definitely check that out at the website. But suffice to say, so at that point, I took a break at school because I was going on a theater tour, and I went on a tour for 5 months. I've talked about this extensively. I was with 5 other guys in a van. I got to start going out to clubs and observing how guys are. And there were 2 guys on my tour that were straight dudes that were going to clubs, picking up women, taking them back to our hotel rooms, banging their brains out, and then leaving for the next city the next day. And I'm like, but women, and they're supposed to want to seek a relationship, and they're just like, what's going on? Oh my God. And so at that point, I started looking up gurus and things that were teaching how to date from perspectives that I never heard of. Like, there are definitely guys out there that are like, oh, you want to, treat her nice. And, all the books I read growing up for dating were like these Christian books about how women don't want guys that are just all about sex and how it's damaging to their psyche to be that way and all this other stuff. And you got to talk nice to them and get them flowers, all this other stuff, right? And so because none of that stuff was working for me, I was a bit more open to hearing about those things not working. But even then, as I was studying this stuff, my initial reactions were like, no. Like I started studying Doc Love stuff, who's like very even keel in terms of like, he's not talking a lot of anti-woman rhetoric. He's all about caring for women and being kind to them. But he also put down these rules that were like, hey, wait 5 to 9 days to call women between dates, or hey, like, don't let a woman do this, or, speak to her like this because she'll like you for these reasons. And I was just like, I had never tried any of this stuff. It was all bullcrap. So, but as I'm looking through his stuff and other people's stuff, I realized I was going through a wide variety of stages, because initially early on, I was very angry and mad at women. I was mad at finding out that the things that work on them actually worked, because I thought they were disingenuous. And I thought, how is it that these things are working so well when, like, me and my nice guy routine aren't? Like, why don't women want nice guys? It was very, very frustrating. And so after many years of going through studying that stuff and then going through my own trials and errors, I finally got to a point where I was not mad at women anymore. And I realized, you know what? We all just function differently. And so I'm thinking they should function one way, but it's a lot better to realize how they actually are versus trying to fight against that. And as a result of that, not getting the results that I want, And so as I've been doing this for years and I've been doing these shows and I start getting comments, there are still many of you guys that are in the first stage of getting towards acceptance, which is the anger phase. And so what I want to do for you as a service is I want you to understand, for one, that the feelings that you are feeling are totally normal. When you come across my stuff or other people's stuff, your first thought is going to be like, this isn't real. This is not true. This is a good thing, right? And so it very much is like, if you guys have ever heard of the 7 stages of grief, there's a level of that that's very true for you getting to accept how women actually are, because part of it is you are going to be grieving the way in which you thought women are going to show up in your lives and the way in which up to this point you've been functioning in an attempt to get women. Like, think about this. Up to now, you have created habits and viewpoints on women that have, for better or for worse, guided you in your interactions with women. And most of it's either not working or has not been successful, right? But your identity is now tied up in how you are, and by default of that, how you are approaching women. Whether it works or not, that's your identity, right? And so it's very hard to break from one's identity and start believing that they were wrong. Like, this entire time. Like, when I hit 21, 22, I had to face the reality that for 22 years of my life, everything that I thought, the ways that I was around women, the nervousness, the anxiousness, the ways I thought that they needed me to be nice, all that stuff was a lie. And I have to now figure out a new way to be that's going to still make me feel like I'm true to myself, but also puts in the lessons that are going to allow me to be more successful with women. And that means you're essentially killing off your old self and killing off any viewpoints you had about how this whole dating thing should work. And that is its own grieving process. And I want you to be aware of that, because as you're going through your dating journey or getting to know how to better interact with women, there's going to be times you're going to look at women and be like, God dang it. And I say that because I had a friend that recently got married. All right. But he said that early on, because he had gotten married, he was a virgin when he got married to his wife. It didn't work out. And so he had been in the church growing up. So all the stuff that he had to deal with in terms of like realizing that the stuff he learned in church was a lie. Him being a virgin until he got married in an attempt to be able to better keep a woman around was a lie. All the things that he thought he should appear as a guy in order to impress women was a lie. And then he said he started like hanging with there was a comedian out here that he started hanging with that was like real more so in like player pimp mode, right? And this guy and him would go out and he'd see this dude literally using like actual pimp lines on women. And so my friend, he said he started using these pimp lines on women and he got mad because it worked. And he was like, why are these women falling for this dumb stuff? Like, oh my God. And it made him very angered and annoyed with women for quite a long time, because he was just like, this should not work. And I have a feeling that's the feeling that a lot of guys have, that the things I'm telling you to do, the things in terms of me saying, hey, don't text women so much, or don't call so much, or, take them on this kind of date, or say this thing to get them in bed. Like, guys' initial reaction to me, like, but I don't want that to work. It should not work. And that's because we've been trained to believe a lie about things that work on women. So what I'm going to do for you is walk you through the 7 stages that you're going to be feeling as it pertains to getting used to the idea of how women actually are. And I stress that, by the way, that when I say how women actually are, this is not saying that how they actually are is a good or bad thing. It's just the way they are. Much in the same way that the way guys are, more often than not, are just how we are. Like, we can't help that we're not nearly as emotional in terms of our thinking process of things as women. That's just how we are. We can learn to read clues and be empathetic to women, but we're not going to have the same level of emotional state as women, honestly, until we get way older, when we start losing testosterone. Because I'm 42 now. I start to feel a bit more emotional about stuff, more so than I did as a kid, but it still takes a long time, all right? So let's walk you through those stages, guys. So the first stage that you're going to go through when you're trying to accept women as they really are is the shock and denial stage. This is the phase where you're online and you come across somebody like me, and you hear me say something like, hey, texting kills attraction, or hey, if you want to get a woman into bed real fast, don't try to talk about sex on that first date. She'll do it by the second date. And you're going to hear these various things that I'm saying and be like, no, that is not a thing. Sure, I've seen it happen with other people. Those guys are creeps, and I'm not a jerk, and that can't be a thing. And what you're saying that works, it sounds like something a jerk would do, and I don't want to be a jerk, and so that's not a thing. Or you might be like, wait a minute. So if I do X, Y, and Z, like, women are going to be fine. Like, if I leave them alone for a week, they're not going to get mad at me. Like, you're totally crazy. And I get it. This is the stage that you have to go through. You're going to be in denial when you first come to this stuff for one simple reason, is because you're so seeped in believing the lies that you've been taught up to this point. You're now coming against me, and you're hearing a different thing that doesn't gel with your current reality. And so your current reality is steeped in, I have these ideas about women, and I believe that these things over here should work. They haven't been working, but I still believe they should work. And so therefore, what you're saying is a lie. And that is a thing that you got to come against, and you have to realize it's going to happen. And I'm always fine. Like, when guys leave comments on my videos, like, that's not a thing because X, Y, and Z, I am more than happy to politely explain to them my viewpoint based on the years that I've been studying this, which is like 20 years now, on top of the numerous experiences I've had with women that indicated that the way that you're thinking as you're coming to me does not work, and here's why. And even as I explain that, you're going to probably still be like, but nah, dude, maybe it worked for you. You're the outlier. But for me, no, well, that would never, whatever, this is that, like, blah, blah, blah. So I totally expect that. But it's the first thing, because you're coming against the thing where it's like, if you actually believe the stuff that I'm saying, it means that you have to also believe now that up to this point, your intel was not good on what you were learning, which can make you feel as though you're now dumb or stupid because you didn't get this before. You weren't able to find this out on your own. And all of a sudden it's like, and you're now being told that something's different. Like, I fully expect you to not believe a thing that I'm saying when we first talk to each other, And so, but you have to understand, when that happens, all I ask you to do is one thing. I ask you to do what I did, which is to look around and see if there's anybody that is similar to you that's been able to get women. Because that's what I did. I have a few women that I knew in my past that have gone on to get married to guys that are very similar in structure and very similar to the way that we sound to me. And the only difference was that however I was showing up for those women, it was not in a way that was going to be as effective as the guy that looks like me that had figured it out. So just before you come against me and say, that's not a thing like that, look around and observe. Notice the guys that are similar to you that have gotten better results doing some of the stuff that I talked about. Talk to people that are in successful relationships that you admire and be like, hey, what's the story of you two getting together, and hear their story. You're going to be surprised at how often it was something as simple as like, oh, well, she was at a bar and we got to talking and then I left and blah, 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 blah. I've told the story before of like, I've had it where, I've gotten with girls simply by, I'll meet them at a party. I'll start talking to them. We'll have a good rapport going. I'll touch them or make out with them some kind. And at the point of that, I'll just leave. I'll get the phone number and I'll leave. And then I don't talk to them for 4 days. And then 4 days later, I hit them up and they want to go out and we do some stuff, right? That story to somebody that is not used to this stuff, they'll hear that and be like, but you're different. You're special. You must have. It's like, no, I was in the same place that you were. I learned some stuff. I applied that stuff and I realized that, oh, women function differently. The things that are going to attract them and turn them on are different. So in the case of the party thing, me being at a party nonstop, following them around the whole night, not letting them go, and I see a lot of guys do that strategy, it's not going to make her want to eventually get with me. Versus I show her a small preview of a good time and then I head for the hills. I found that strategy works very, very well. But somebody coming new to this, they're going to be in denial about that, and I totally get it. But just look at other people that have been successful and ask the question, are they doing things differently than I am? And if so, what are those things? You'll find a lot of those things are things that I talk about. So that's the first stage. The second stage of accepting women as they really are is going through the pain and guilt stage. So what's going to happen here is this, is that at the point that you start to realize, wait a minute, there might be some validity to this stuff. Now what's going to happen is you're going to feel two things. You're going to feel pain at the fact that up to this point, you've had idealized expectations about what you should be doing as a guy and how women should be reacting as a result of your actions to get them, and that it's not working. And you're supposed to be able to hear the reasons why it hasn't been working. So that's the pain part. And then the guilt part is thinking about crap, like, wait, so this whole time I've been treating women this way, but they really wanted this over here. And I thought I was being a good guy doing this stuff, but I was actually creeping them out because they wanted this stuff. Oh my God, now you feel even worse because you're like, crap, I was doing things that was actually making them uncomfortable when I thought I was comforting them the whole time, you know? Things like, for example, like, you know, say you meet a girl or she starts talking to you and you're like, she starts, oh, I'll give you a perfect example, like the keynote phase of things, you know? In the pickup artist days, they really like stress the idea of keynoting, which is basically in order to get a girl attracted to you, you need to touch her in non-sexual places, but you touch her first. That way she knows that you want to be touched. And then if she responds positively, then that lets you know that, oh my God, she likes you. I believe that crap for a while. And I'll go around and be like, hey, what's up? We're going on a date. And then she'd be telling me a story. Oh, that's so good to hear. Touch her on the back. Come to find out, creeps them to freak out. I didn't realize, oh, wait, you'll know that a woman's ready for you to touch her when she touches you first. And she'll usually do it in a passive way. So I had to think back and like all the girls that I was like trying to touch their hand or touch their back and like, I should have waited for them. Oh my God. So you're going to go through this phase of pain and guilt where it's like, you feel bad for things you did unintentionally to try to attract women. And then you're also realizing like, crap, the way I've been has been like bull crap. What the freak is going on, you know? So that's the second phase. The third stage of accepting women as they really are is the anger and bargaining stage. This is the other stage that I find a lot of guys come to my channel with, where it's like they're in this mode where they're just starting to realize how women actually are and how they actually want to be attracted, and they're frustrated. And the reason that they're frustrated is because they've been trying all this stuff for years that wasn't working, and now they're starting to find out the things that actually work on them. And it's stuff that goes against the nature of who they've identified themselves as, you know? I remember in college, I told the story before, but like there was a girl that came to me crying one day because she was like, oh my God, I feel so horrible because I went up to this guy's room and next thing I know, I was down on my knees doing stuff to him orally. And at the time I was mad about it. Then I realized, wait a minute, but like, how did he get her up there? He just said, hey, you wanna come up? And then she went up there and then they were in the room and he just drops his pants. And at that point she could have left. She chose to stay. But I'm like, but why did him just inviting her up there and then just dropping his pants result in him getting the action that he wanted, even though she seems distraught about it now? That was still the choice she made. And I got really frustrated at things like that, where it's just like, why is it so easy for these guys? And part of it was because I was uncomfortable with the idea of doing those things in order to get what I wanted. Or if I did that, am I now using or tricking women? And it's like, I forget that women have their own agency. They can choose to do these things. My only job is to make the offer. Hey, you want to come to my place? Hey, you want to get in my bed? They can say no, like they're in the full right. But as a guy, I'm thinking, but even making those initial actions, like that shouldn't be a thing. So this goes back to, I'm thinking women should do these things and I shouldn't have to do these things. And I'm trying to still be a good guy. So that means I don't want to do X, Y, and Z because then I'm going to identify myself now as not a good guy. And that's on me, not on them. But suffice to say, there gets a lot of anger out of that. And so many guys come to my page ready to comment like, oh, I'm so mad because this girl, this and that. Why are girls so stupid? Or why do girls always do this? Or they should just know. Or these pull-away texts they're doing is such BS. And I blah, 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 blah. And so I recognize that too. These guys come to my page and do all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, they're in the anger phase. So if they're the problem is this: some guys stay in the anger phase. And that's where you get a lot of the RP content, where you have just guys all day talking about how bad women are and they're bashing women and women are all stupid and silly and they just don't have whatever and they only want high value guys and X, Y, and Z. And I just come to learn based on my own dating life that most of that is emphatically not true. It's not to say that women aren't hypergamous or don't want a guy that's doing better than them, but the bar for that is significantly lower than most guys are giving credit for. Like, guys are thinking based on the internet, oh, girls only want $100,000 plus earning guys. I've never earned $100,000 in a year, and I've been doing fine in my dating life, all right? But the point is that you'll get angry, you'll get annoyed, and that's simply because, again, you're thinking about all the time, that all the years spent where you didn't know the stuff that you now know. And so now your brain is internally clashing between you wanting to be the old version of you, but also knowing that that version is not going to work and that this version over here is going to work better, but it doesn't feel good to this version over here. So this is basically where you go into like the killing stage. Like, you're basically in a fight to try to kill off the version of you that's not going to be effective for women. And both of you are sitting here thinking, I'm going to be better. Unfortunately, this guy, if you're good, this guy's going to lose, but this guy's going to fight the good fight. It's going to fight tooth and nail. I've had guys try to have full on like debates with me in the comments about the things that I'm giving advice on based solely on my dating experience, me being able to interview the women that I've dated, being able to interview my female friends, being able to see the things that my guy friends go through, being able to coach guys for 20 years. Like, I have enough of my arsenal to know that this is completely normal and that things that I'm going to be talking about to guys, they're not going to believe yet until they've been able to experience it. I've been privy to have a lot of great comments from guys as of late that have said things like, oh my God, Harry, I did exactly what you were talking about. I had one guy that was like, this girl had gone ghost on me. And so I did what you said. I stopped reaching out to her. I didn't contact her. A few days later, boom, she reaches out and now we're hooking up again. But like, that guy was probably in the anger phase. Oh, why is she blanking on me? I'm just trying to sit down and have a rational conversation with her, blah, 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 blah. Women don't work like that. Women have to feel things. So you got to leave them alone sometimes in order for them to feel things for you in order to want to see you. But that's one of those steps that as you become to accept that and see it, you'll go from being angry about it to being like, oh, okay. So next girl I date, if we get into a thing or she starts pulling away, I know to leave her alone for a couple of days and things will be fine. And then the more you do that, you'll start to realize, oh, that's what it is. And you'll become less anxious, which also helps towards the process of accepting how women actually are. All right. Anyway, so that's number 3. So the number 4 phase kind of ties in with the anger part, which is depression. This is where you really start to mourn the idealized version of the women you were going after. You know, I had to sit with myself at one point and be like, crap, like, okay, I get it. Everything that I've been trying to do to get women is a wash. But now it sucks even more because like once you recognize that, you're starting at ground zero. Like, yeah, you've heard things that are going to work, but you haven't practiced them yet. You've seen examples of how if you say this thing, you're going to get this woman to do this thing, whatever, but it hasn't happened to you yet. And so you hit this point of depression because you now have no strategy. And you don't know, based on all the intel you're now getting, what's going to work. Like, you might be listening to my stuff, Corey Wayne stuff, Doc Love stuff. You might be listening to Kevin Samuel stuff. Like, all these people are saying these various things and they sound like they're pretty similar, but there's a couple differences here and there. But you don't know if you could even trust that because up to this point in your life, you've trusted all this other stuff that didn't work. And it is very depressing because now you're sitting there like, I have no strategy. So I can't get women, but I'm afraid to talk to women because if I say the wrong thing, I'm gonna chase even more women off. And I know now not to do that, but I don't know what to say, what the freak's going on. And so that can cause you to feel lonely. It can cause you to feel hurt. And it can cause you to feel as though maybe this whole dating thing just isn't for me. Like, maybe I should just give up, go my own way, just stick to my video games, stick to my hobbies, talk to my family, and just live without women. And again, I went through that stage too, especially when I started thinking that I had everything solved or figured out about women. And then I would come up against a new woman and it would just completely fly out the window. It'd be like, oh, I'm back at square one again. Crap. Like, oh, it's very depressing. So again, recognize that is a normal part of the process towards acceptance, which starts to happen a little bit in the next stage. So if you recognize the first 4 stages, shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, and depression, those things are going to happen. But you need to be mindful of that so you'll know that you can push through those things. Because if you push through those things and you say, okay, I'm going to keep studying this stuff, it's not working for me now. But there were years where I was just on message boards, just trying to get advice from guys and just listening, just like taking in notes and intel. I was studying various things and I was just I would sporadically go out from time to time to try to test things out here and there. But I was just like a student, just like, is this stuff going to ever take off? Am I going to eventually ever have any of the things that I'm learning actually work for me? But I persevered. And then it went from like small victories here or there to more small victories to bigger victories to great big victories. Okay. And so, and again, part of this is going to be just as you're doing this stuff over time, you'll start to develop a habit. Like you have bad habits up to this point that have led you to the depression part, but you have bad habits that have been a part of your life. So it's going to take some time to build up new habits. Even when I tell you guys like, hey, go to my website and sign up for the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy. It's a 12-week academy because even with that 12 weeks, there's still going to be like after that 12 weeks, you're going to have to go through more exercises and more things in order to like really feel comfortable with that. But the 12 weeks will give you a really good baseline of things to refer to. You'll have videos to go to and other PDFs to go to for when you're feeling lost. You'll at least now have a blueprinted map of where to go, and you'll start doing some of the work already to get rid of anxiousness and anxiety, okay? But that's part of the work that you need to put in order to push through all these stages to where you finally accept women as they are, right? Because again, part of the problem up to this point is having an unrealistic ideal of how women should be based on history, media, family, and you up to this point, as we used to always say in sales, like, we would go to people's houses and, they have like a vacuum or a knife that totally sucked. And then part of my job as a sales guy is to not make them feel so bad about the purchase that they had made prior to meeting me. And so that's what I do for you guys, is that up to this point, you were only working based off of the knowledge that was most available to you, just like I once was, all right? So just like you had that knowledge and did stuff with it, you didn't get the results that you wanted, but you knew how to get the knowledge and you were using it. So now you come up against new knowledge. So I always do like this. My ego is set up to be like, I will be running on the program of stuff that I know unless something else comes along that serves me better. And so because my ego is set up like that, I don't down myself or get upset with myself when I learn a thing that's against what I believed up to this point, because I'm open to the idea that I know what I know right now, but if something new comes along, I'm open to that if it fits what I feel is going to fit in terms of it, like working for me and stuff like that. So don't feel bad. Like if up to this point you've been angry or depressed or mad at women, you come to my stuff, you're thinking, man, Harry's got all this stuff and this knowledge, I'll never get like him. I was once like you guy. I learned some new knowledge. I put it to the test. It worked. And I worked off that knowledge. So if the things you're learning from me, you were able to go out into the world and actually use them and it works for you, congratulations. That's all I want for you guys, is to be able to use the knowledge that I'm spitting here based on my years of dating and trial and error to help you guys out, and be open to that. Be open to the idea that, hey, you knew all that you could up to this point because maybe you didn't have the resources. Hey, until I was 21, I didn't have any knowledge of where to find resources that would actually teach me the right ways to be as a guy dating. Like that took a lot of time. And then once I found it, I was like, oh, lifesaver, bet, let's go in. So hopefully that's the same journey for you, But anyway, assuming you get past 4, the next stage in the 7 stages of accepting women as they are is the upward turn. And this is where you start to let go of some of the unrealistic expectations that you have about women. And you also start to see like the actual benefits to the way that women operate. A small example, right? Men get really annoyed when women aren't direct with them. Like the whole thing about women doing passive language and not just coming out and saying the thing that they want or whatever. Like men get really annoyed by that, but the guys that are able to read that succeed really well with women. But there is a beauty to be said in passive language. For one, it's flirtatious language. So it's almost like playful language, where a woman's not going to overtly say a thing to you, but she's going to say something in a playful way that leaves the dialogue something that is very fun for her. Also to the point, if you're wanting a feminine woman, you're going to want a woman that when problems arise is able to come to you in a way that's seemingly nonchalant and non-confrontational, to be able to get her points across in a way that doesn't make you feel like she's coming at you too masculinely or trying to threaten you. But if you recognize passive language, you'll know that she's serious about what she's saying to you, even if it feels passive. So we're saying, hey, babe, so were you thinking about taking us on a date this weekend? You're thinking, she could have just said, can we go on a date? But no. She doesn't want to force the issue. She wants you to choose her to go out with. And she's hoping that you, by saying it in this way, it's not going to be so forceful that you're not going to feel forced to do it if you don't want to. All right. So there is a beauty in the way that women communicate. That's just one example of many ways that you right now might be annoyed at women. But if you look at it in a different light, you'll realize that some of the ways in which they are are actually not only beneficial, but are also great at keeping the peace in the relationship. All right. So you'll start to get that. You'll start to look at things like the way that you've been trying to attract women. You'll start to get a better understanding of why those things don't work. Like nice guys are notorious for like, don't women just want a nice guy? The number of women that have been tricked into believing that a guy was a nice guy and then he stole her money, or he ended up cursing her out somewhere, or behind closed doors, he actually wasn't as nice of a guy and that the whole nice guy thing was a front. You'll start to realize, oh, women go through experiences that make them like apprehensive when they first meet a guy. So that's why she's coming to me and I'm seeing all this, what I consider bullcrap behavior, or she's saying she wants one thing but doesn't want this thing, whatever. But you'll start to understand what those things are actually about. And then you'll start to not be as mad at them. And I talk about those kind of things extensively in the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Program. All right. So then from there, we get into the work, which is reconstructing and working through the bullcrap. And that is basically when you start to change up your perceptions and attitudes about women based on having a more realistic understanding and expectation of how they are. Because up to this point, you've had a lot of unrealistic expectations, and so you have to fight those things. You have to recognize why those expectations were wrong in the first place and understand why it is that the way women are actually showing up is actually better for you to know what those are and why they benefit you as well, And so as you start to do that stuff, you'll start to, get rid of misconceptions. You'll start to accept them more. You'll have a genuine respect for the way in which that women are actually appearing. You'll actually have empathy for the dating life that women have, because part of my show, I teach you guys about how to get women, but I also talk a lot about the number of incidences and bullcrap that women go through on their side of dating. The guys that use them, the guys that abuse them, the guys that, send them D pics, the guys that act like D bags, the guys that they legitimately wanted a relationship with, but then, and the guys that made them believe that they were going to be together forever. So they have the kid and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm out of here, I'm gone. Like, women go through so much stuff on top of like having to worry about their safety and abuse and all those other things, to where it's like, you'll start to understand based on those things why it is that women sometimes act to us a little bit weird or quirky in the dating world. But as you learn to empathize with that and respect that, it'll bother you less. As these things start to bother you less, then you'll start to be even more focused on doing the kind of work you need to do to get to a place where you view women more realistically. And you know that some of the things that you thought were toxic traits or toxic masculinity, whatever, aren't actually that. It's just you were made to believe that you should be uncomfortable doing these various things, but that they actually are healthy. For example, the texting thing. I've said time and time again, texting kills attraction. And yet guys are constantly on my page talking about how I was texting her nonstop and blah, 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 this is net. And so when I try to tell guys why they shouldn't be texting all the time, they get mad about that. I have to explain to them, part of a woman wanting you is wanting to miss you. And also I thought about this too, because I grew up in the time, I feel so old now, God, like, I feel like my generation was the last generation where texting was not a thing. And so you could legit go on a date and legit show a girl a good time, walk to her car, and then not actually hear from her for the next 4 or 5 days, because that was normal. Like, yes, we had phones, you could call people, but even then, back then, people weren't really trying to do phone calls like that. So it's like, you would just know, okay, I'll see her in a week or so. I'll call her in 6 days, ask for a date, and it'd be totally fine. And I think that people forget that. Like, men in particular forget that, like, there was a point in time where you didn't have 24-hour access to a person, and people still managed to get together and have long-lasting relationships. Now, notice relationships are on the decline. Part of that's because people are around each other all the time and they don't give them a break. So it behooves you to actually date a woman that is not going to be butthurt if you don't text her for a few days. And the only way you can test that out is to not text her for a few days. It really eliminates the crazies a lot earlier. But I have found in my dating journey that most women don't need me to text them every single day, and they still want to get with me. It's amazing. But once you understand the psychology behind that and why it is that women need a break from you, even if they like you a whole lot, then you won't see not texting them or not sending good morning calls and stuff like that as a toxic masculinity trait. You taking the leadership position. Once you understand that most women to this day still want a guy to lead and what that looks like, then you'll feel less annoyed when you're trying to do the 50-50 thing and she's like trying to make you do all the decisions. Because you're thinking, but this should be 50-50. No, it should never be 50-50. It should never be 50-50, guys. I'm telling you that right now. Women do not want 50-50 in terms of leadership. They want you to do the majority of the leading. But as you get to understand that, it'll make you less annoyed and you'll get a better idea of how to step into that leadership position, which again, I teach in my coaching program. All this leads to stage number 7, which is acceptance, which is the stage where you now fully accept women as they are, flaws, complexities. They say one thing and they mean another thing. Like, none of these things will bug you anymore. Like, I'm at the point now where I recognize when women are saying certain things and I'm like, they're probably not going to fall through with that, but it doesn't bug me. So I'm like, because I expect that from women now, because I'm looking at them from a realistic position, then those things don't annoy me. Whereas before, I'd be getting all butthurt, and I'm trying to rationally argue with them about why they should keep their word and how dare they, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can do that all day. It's not going to get women, you know? And so when you get to stage 7, dating becomes immensely easier, because now you know simple things like, if you reach out to a girl for a date and she says, oh, I can't make it, and doesn't leave like, it doesn't give you an alternative day, or you reach out to a woman after 1 or 2 texts, she slows down, like, you won't get hurt by any of this stuff. You know, women will say certain things sometimes on dates and you're like, I got hurt by that, but it's like, it's not actually a big deal, but your previous self would have thought it was a big deal. Or if she says something to you on a date, like, you know, oh, if you asked her, say you met a girl online and you're like, oh, are you seeing other guys? And she's like, oh, actually I am. You'd be all butthurt. Well, but how could you do? Blah, blah, blah. And now you're just be like, oh, that's part of the dating process. That's fine. Like, dating becomes so much easier because you're so less stressed, you're less anxious, you're less jealous, because you now understand the ways about which women are going to move. And I find that the knowledge of that takes away a lot of the anxiousness. But you can't get there if you never get past the anger stage or get past the depression stage, or you live in this bubble of ideology where you just feel as though all women should be away. And it's not that you can't find those women, just you got to do a harder search. Spoiler guy, even the most pious, higher than thou art Christian woman is going to still function like a regular woman. You know, there are no special women. There are women that are going to act on the program that they've been programmed with. And the earlier you get to know that, the better it's going to be for your dating life. So hopefully now that you know what those steps all look like, it'll be a lot easier for you to understand that you're going to go through this process. If you come to my stuff feeling like I'm full of crap or being angry at the things you're hearing, these are all normal things you're going to feel. But you have to understand that they're normal and that you got to fight through them to eventually get towards acceptance. I promise you, on the other end, it gets a lot easier and life gets a lot better and hookups get a lot better. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out with all that. So speaking of that, with that said, I'm going to refill my water real quick, but I have an ebook sale going on this week. In the meantime, check out what some of these ebooks have to offer. Hey guys, Harry Wilmington here, and I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast, and it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater, so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chapter masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested, so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them, and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause her to eventually ghost you in the texting realm. All right, so check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one and she left me and I want to get her back, or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on, so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. Yes, guys. And by the way, we are having a sale this month. It is called Pay What You Want May. So you can get any of those ebooks, Testing Like a Boss, How to Get Your Ex Back, and No Girls For You at any price. Just go to the website, click on the book that you want. And when it gets to the checkout page, you just type in whatever price you want to pay. And that's the cost you pay for the book. All right. So you can check out any of those books at the website and get them today. It's limited time for the month of May only. So go get the deal while you can. All right. So in conjunction with the idea about the having an idea of how women actually are, there was a person on Reddit that had left a comment, and I wanted to read it because I responded to him, and I thought it'd be a good idea to give the similar advice to you guys on here. So there was a guy on Reddit whose post said he broke up with his girlfriend. Am I okay to feel this way? He's 28 and she's 23. So he said, I broke up with my girlfriend yesterday. We dated for 4 years. Then we split up for 6 months, then went back together for over 7 months until yesterday when we got into a discussion that led me into being fully honest with her. I don't know why, but since we came back, I feel like I didn't live that part of my life being single and dating more girls. To be honest, I'm afraid to be 40 years old and thinking that I didn't do more stuff when I was young. The relationship was awesome and better than before. She's amazing too, and it hurts a lot seeing her suffering from this. Am I afraid of commitment? Is that it? Besides that, I'm under heavy stress right now, lost my job, and family issues. So to this guy, first of all, I always clarify by saying this. At the end of the day, if you felt like for whatever reason, you and this girl just weren't going to go the distance long term, or for whatever reason right now, you don't feel as though you should be in a relationship with this particular person, you as a guy are in your full right to make that decision. Like, not every woman you date is going to be one that you end up with long term. And so I'm never like, oh, just because you guys got together, it has to work, blah, 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 blah. So that's the first thing. But that said, it sounds like he actually wanted to be with this girl, but he's breaking it off because he has a fear that he's going to get to be basically around my age and be like, oh, but I didn't get to date all these girls or hook up with all these women. Oh my gosh, I'm so disgusted with myself. I need to go back out there. Because I guess younger guys have a fear of like, am I going to be missing out? The fear of missing out, right? Am I going to miss out on a bevy of other hot chicks I could have banged if I just stick with this one right now? Because early on, you don't know if you're making a good choice, right? Like, this one could be all the things, and you're like, but could there be better out there? Like, could there be more? Or could I be that guy that's on the field just like hooking up with every which way? And so as a guy that's in his 40s, I try to give this guy some perspective. But basically, here's the thing, right? Is that I was that guy that was able to date a bunch of women. I will say that, part of it was, admittedly, I was trying to actually, I wasn't just trying to have frivolous hookups. At the time, I was thinking, if I hook up with her and it's really good, she's going to want to stick around and date me. So I was still, even with my random hookups, going in it thinking that this is going to lead to us dating and then relationship. Naivety, guys. Some women just are there for the hookup and then they're gone. Or you hook up with a girl and then you realize either she's not all that you wanted her to be, or come to find out, you end up getting too needy and desperate and chase them off. Like, a bunch of this stuff can happen, right? So, but all I'd say is that as a 40-year-old person who's been able to go through that journey, what I want to say to you guys is this. I give you guys advice to be able to, ideally, because you can do it with it wherever you want to. That's your agency part, right? My job is just to give the advice, right? But I give the advice hoping that you're going to use the stuff I'm talking about on women that you actually want to date and potentially get into a relationship with. This does not mean that you rush through that process, but, because I say things like, date 4 or 5 girls at a time, or, do these things to hook up by the second or third date. But ideally, you're doing that with people that you could really see yourself getting together with in a long-term capacity, right? But early in my journey, I had my trials and errors where I was thinking it was going to happen and then it didn't, blah, blah, blah. So I was able to get with a bunch of women. And so I have found that at the end of the day, I'm only speaking for myself, right? That journey is not worth it. Like at the point that you get with a person that you find you really care for and you really want to be with nonstop, then you go back and think about all the other various bodies that you got with. And then again, it's just my personal experience. There may be times where you're with the person you're with in the moment and you're thinking back on the way that this person's body looked, or the way that this boob felt, or the way this person would moan, or the way this other blah, blah, blah. And so it can potentially be a distraction, but also you don't need to go through a whole bunch of bodies in order to find love. If you find love at 28 or 29 or even 22 or whatever, and they're like the bee's knees, old school phrase, and they're all for like being there for you, and they're already there for you in a wide variety of capacities, like they're cooking for you, they're rubbing your back. This guy's saying he's going through a job and family issues. Is your girl willing to be there through losing your job and through those family issues? I had a friend that went through a cancer scare and his girl's been by his side the entire time. Like that's what you actually want, you know? But suffice to say, if you're able to find that, now you're playing poker. Now you're playing the house bet where it's like, okay, I got a good hand right here. I got like 2 queens, or I got 3 queens and a ace card right here. Like I'm good. But there might be 3 kings out there, or I could really try to go for that ace. You could try that. I can assure you, more often than not, it's going to be a hard find. Like if you get simple, this guy could potentially find another woman out there, right? It could be 3, 4, 5, or 6 years before that type of woman shows up again, you know? And so you have to hedge your bets. But I'm saying as a 40-year-old person, at least on my journey, you do not miss it. If anything, you almost kind of regret like, oh crap, like I hooked up with this one girl and it was really great, but then she went to leave and I couldn't hook up with her anymore. There was this other girl, but then I've had a couple women that I dated in the past that have now, passed on. Like, and you just think about that stuff like, oh, I wasn't there for them when they passed on, or this, and that. And so keep in mind, anybody you hook up with, it is a soul tie. You will be thinking about them till the day you die, whether you want to admit it or not, And so you got to think about how many bodies do you want to have to be thinking about, because you want to go through the journey of hooking up with a bunch of women. Now, as an older guy, it's easy to say that. As a young guy, you're full of hormones, and you might just be like, I want to just bang everything moving. I don't judge anybody's journey. I'm just telling you from the 42-year-old perspective that more likely than not, you're not going to miss not having hooked up with a bunch of girls if you have already chosen the right girl. That's the key. If you pick somebody that ends up being a harlot, or ends up just yelling at you nonstop, or is constantly trying to blame things on you, or is playing victim, then you're going to be thinking, oh, I need to get back out there and get some other girls. Oh my God. But if you find one that's like treating you well and the way you want to be treated, why are you trying to seek out more than that? That's just my 2 cents. Okay. But you can do with that whatever you want. I'm just saying, I find that ultimately you're not missing out. You're thinking now you're going to miss out, but there are so many guys out there now that are playing the field, that are hooking up left and right with girls, that would kill to have just one good girl at home that's cooking meals for them, that's cool to talk to and play with games and stuff like that and getting the sack with. And that to me is a more desirable goal. But again, my whole thing is just to give you guys tips so you can get to whatever goal you're trying to get to in your dating journey. So if your dating journey involves you trying to hook up with a bunch of girls, my tips can help with that. But ideally, you're trying to get for that one, because after a while, trying to manage a whole bunch of people, it's a lot of work. Just real talk, So just want to help that guy out on Reddit. All right. By the way, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the show, then you are welcome to ask them. I have a couple more things on the comment wise section thing that I want to go over. So I did a video called "No Hookup, but she's in your bed, kick her out." And there was a situation where this guy was saying he was hooking up with a girl. Oh, he was dating a girl, rather. They go on a first date. They made out on the date. And then she went back to his place and jumped in his bed and stayed the night and didn't hook up. And then the next time she came over, same thing happened, went right to his bed, didn't hook up. And so she started saying, oh, you're touching me weird. I don't know if we should date each other, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, if she's coming to your house and jumping in your bed and not doing anything, kick her out of your bed. Like, just say, okay, well, great. If we're not doing anything, that's totally fine. I respect that. But we're going to go to the living room now and hang out there and continue on. There's no need to set yourself up for any kind of entrapment situation. So this one guy commented and said, women know exactly what they are doing. She's teasing him in that area down there. Start holding women accountable for their behavior. He should have immediately dismissed her. She's an adult. She needs to understand you do not any circumstances you get into his bed without knowing that hooking up is the goal, right? And so this is one of those situations where if you tell women that, a lot of them will get into their feelings and say things like, well, just because she's in your bed doesn't mean that the hookup has to happen. Guys, understand you're still the leader of your household. And you need to know what situations are going to be for the good and what situations are going to get you set up for the bad. Don't let women and their rhetoric set you up for failure or for bad times. You not kicking women out of your bed allows her to later on say, you touched me weird. You turned over and I felt your little thing touch me in the back. Oh my God, I want to sue you now. I'm the habit of just, you don't set that situation up, right? So, but there, that said, what I found is I did a whole show just now talking about how part of men's frustration with women is we have an idealized expectation of what should or should not be happening. Come to find out, guys, women have the same thing for us. So this woman said both of them should have sat down and had an open conversation, setting expectations and boundaries before getting serious. Well, for one, it's only 1 or 2 dates. This is not the level where we start talking about seriousness of stuff. But anyway, she says, he's getting upset and she's getting upset because there is no clear communication. From a woman's perspective, we think differently. We think that we can hang out as friends and nothing more, or that you'll be respectful and wait for the sexual contact until we communicate that we are ready for more. Now, I think that sounds dumb, but we need to listen to her because this is an example of a woman's giving the tea right now. She's saying this is how women think. Women legitimately believe that just because they sit in your bed, it doesn't mean that we have to hook up, okay? So women are coming from that perspective. You as a guy need to know that, because if your thought process is, but women in my bed to me means that sex is gonna happen, then you now know these are clashing expectations, and that if you know you're gonna feel a certain way, then you can't let whatever her idealized version of the situation is trump or overrule what your feeling is going to be. So if your feeling is, when women are in my bed, we're going to Pound Town, and her thought is, I can just be in your bed and not have that happen, then you, again, to protect yourself, need to let your idealized thought of this rule and be like, but I, at the end of the day, know if a woman's in my bed, I'm going to feel horny, I'm going to feel things, I'm going to want to do stuff, and I don't need that temptation. So for the betterment of her, since she's saying she's right now indicating that she just wants this to be a hangout situation, then we ain't got to hang out in my room. And you can let the woman get mad at you about that. Well, you should be a grown adult mother. Don't let women shame you into doing what's best for you. If what's best for you is not having a woman in your bed so you're tempted, then get that woman out of your bed. But know that women are going to think this, and therefore you do not invite your bed to be an option for a hangout unless you're getting the signs in the area that it's about to go down, at which point then you let the offer to come to your bed. If in that process you find out, oh, she's actually not really wanting to do that, you get her out of your bed. You can always, just like women can change their mind, you can change your mind from hanging out in your room to hanging back out in the living room. But this also, for you guys, speaks to having sexual discipline. You cannot get butthurt because a woman gets into your bed and then says to you, we're not doing anything. Like, this is not the time to be angry or frustrated about that. Even though it is very frustrating, you do not show that off. Just know, oh, okay, she changed her mind. It is what it is. Hey, let's go back out there. Keep it simple and smooth. Don't be like those guys that get angry and annoyed, because then she's going to think you were just in this for sex, which now you're proving her right by doing that, you know? But anyway, so that's what she said. And then she said, from this video, I feel like there was more going on, just wanting the company or being able to cuddle. Again, if you don't know, ask. So again, women are also expecting that a guy is going to be perfectly fine just cuddling and doing nothing more. For women that are watching this, I can assure you, most guys are frustrated by that, and they are lying to you if they say they're not. Because we're thinking, if you're cuddling up, your butt's on our genitals, it's only one more step before clothes are off and we can be doing things. And it's not to say that cuddling can't happen. Cuddling can happen on the couch with you guy with your arm around her like this, sitting up straight, watching TV. It does not have to go to, we're laying down and we're in all these kinds of positions that look like we're about to do some stuff. Oh, but then she said we're not going to. Like, we're not for that business, guys, all right? And then this guy under that comment to her said, they act offended. Oh, so because she was saying, this is what women think that, well, let me not be a generalist, right? There is a subsection of women that think that everything can be totally understood through just talking and communication. If you guys would just sit down and discuss things. So that's an example of women have an idealized version of how things are going to function for men. If a woman comes to us and says, hey, let's talk about that, we're not going to have sex. Great. Now let's go to your bed and sit there. She's thinking, based on that conversation, men are going to understand and be okay with the fact that nothing's going down sexually. And that is rarely true because guys are always thinking we get taught like, but women are also like, they want us to force things. Or how many situations have guys been in where it's like, the girl will be like I've been in a situation, for example, where I'm making out with a woman. I try to go like say touch her butt. She's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'll sit back up like, okay, cool. Sit back up, sit straight up, watching TV. Next thing I know, she's grabbing my hand and she's taking it down to her butt. So we went from like, you didn't want to do a thing to now you do. So I just had to like push forward a little bit for you to be comfortable with that. And so as guys, we get taught that all the time, that we have to sometimes, force the agenda a little bit, not saying full on, essay and stuff like that, but like, being a little bit more bold and daring, knowing to go for that kiss without asking her, because asking her for consent, well, these days I hear it may be more okay to do that, but traditionally it's been like women are kind of like, I just want in the moment for him to know to do it, So we get the messages of have a conversation about it, but then we do that and then it's unsexy. But then if we just go ahead and do it, they want that. But also if they're not there yet, then it's harassment. So this guy said they act offended if you ask some things, and then they will say things like, well, I wanted to maybe, but not now since you asked. Yeah. So that's where guys get confused about stuff, right? But suffice to say, so this is an example of running up against the idealized way that women are looking at us and how things should go. And isn't that frustrating, guys? So now you understand why you having an idealized version of women is also frustrating to them, because women want to be okay with being freaky or being nasty at times. And then you thinking that they're so perfect and docile and should be handled like a sweet, delicate flower is not going to get you the results that you want. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I think I have this long thing that I wanted to react to, because there's this other woman that left these long various comments on my page, but I think I want to actually save that for a different show. That's his own solo show, because I really want to dig into this. So I won't go to that. Let's see if there's anything else on here that I had. I think I had possibly a Reddit thing that I wanted to read, maybe. Let's see. No, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions at this time, let me know, because I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to end the stream. But like I said, guys, we do currently have the Pay What You Want sale going on for this month of May. So you can get any of my popular ebooks, either Texting Like a Boss, How to Get Your Ex Back, or No Girls For You, at any price. Just simply go there. When you go to checkout, when you go to the page, it'll say, pay any price you want. And then it'll say, it's normally priced at this. And then you click on that and you go to the next page and it'll say like, put in whatever price you want for this book and you can get any of those books. So if you're having problems with knowing how to text women, if you're in a situation where you don't know how to get your ex back, or how to get a woman to want to start talking to you again, or if you just wanted to know why all the things you're doing right now to lose women or to get women are causing you to lose them, you can get any one of those 3 books to explain that to you, and you will be helped out immensely. All right. In the meantime, go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. Check out my various ebooks, audiobooks, and programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I'm Harry Wilmington as always, and I will catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace. You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man.